So, welcome back to another Game Chat, and I'm really happy to have a very special guest on the show, John Hancock.
Hello.
And I gotta give you, for a lot of you who don't know, the background on John's collection, and today we're kind of going to get into a talk about where his collecting began, because John honestly has the craziest collection I have ever seen, and we were talking about this earlier, but I said to him what I wanted to talk to him about is what got him into collecting. And first of all, let's start backwards. What was your collection like? What is your collection now? Oh, by the way, these wristbands, we haven't come back from the hospital or anything. We were just at the Retro Gaming Expo, so we've just nipped over to do this and all that. So what collections do you have now? We'll kind of work backwards here.
Oh, geez. I have approximately 21 complete U.S. collections. And when I say complete, that means I have at least one copy of every released game for that set in the library that was released. Like, for example, Gamecom.
Yeah.
I have everything for that. N-Gage, everything for that. Sega Master System, everything for that. Sega CD, Sega 32X, Sega Dreamcast, Sega Genesis.
That's crazy.
On and on. And, I did this, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Before many people were doing it now. So it was easier.
It's okay to say, because I've already come out and said it, I'm about 40. John's around the same age. I'm older than him. It's
38. He's older by me.
And it's interesting to say, we were talking about it earlier. John came into the room, was looking at the collection that I got, and he's like, oh, all these games, there's so many of the games that I like too. And it's because we're part of the same generation. And it's really important to explain that when we started buying all these games, we kept them because we liked them. And then you buy more games and you just kept them. You didn't buy them, you didn't walk into a store and just, when you were a kid, go, I'll take the entire Sega Master System collection. Yeah. Nobody did that. You just bought a couple of games, and then when you got older, and that's the thing, where did you become a collector? Where did you say, hey, I love this stuff so much? Like, where was the passion and the love for all this stuff?
Well, I was having lunch with some other friends, and we were talking about, many of us were collecting other things. And I started collecting baseball cards when I was a young kid, going to flea marts, comic books, action figures, and it kind of just evolved into video games. And so my collecting, I'm from a family of collectors.
Oh, yeah?
And my mom was a collector. I just kind of took it to the next level of collecting video games, something I'm very passionate about. And so I've been collecting a good 30 years.
And you just started off, like, when you were young, just playing games, and then you're like, when did it become the part where, like, I want to collect video games? And this, like, what was that switching point?
After high school and when I was in college, I started wanting to get game consoles that I had as a kid. Yeah. And I didn't have a lot of money. And so I was very familiar with yard sailing and flea marts in my area in Redding, California. And we had two flea marts. One was good, one was not. Yeah. And so I mostly went to the one that was good, which was called the Jolly Green Giant. And so for about 20 years, I've been collecting video games. Yeah. So about 20 years ago.
And that's the thing that we were going to say as well. It was a lot easier.
Yes.
When we were younger.
Yes.
You could go in the term that you love using, and it's become a very big term. Yeah. Going out into the wild, going down to a local Value Village or wherever, and finding that great score of a video game. Where now it's so saturated out there. You'll go anywhere. I know a lot of people are frustrated with it. I'm frustrated with it. Games 381 was talking about how it's frustrating to buy games, because you'll go to any place now and there's nothing. They're cherry picked or they're so expensive. But when we were younger, it was a lot easier, guys. It was a lot easier to go to Value Village and get an entire collection of Sega Master System games. Get like 20 of them for like $10.
Yeah, I would go into a used music store, which is Bog Bean Books and Music in Redding, California, and they're still around. I'd go in there and they would have literally like a bin of Sega Genesis games. They all were like $2.95, $1.95, and they wouldn't discriminate. So you would have a Phantasy Star 2 right next to like a Super Monaco GP. Yeah. And they both would be the same price. Well, you know what one I would get.
Yeah. So, Monaco GP. No, I'm just kidding. Pick up the Tommy Lasorda baseball in there too, right? Exactly. Yeah. But it's so amazing how collecting has changed over the years, and how it's a lot harder nowadays to get in and build complete collections. It's outrageous. Like, I'm a big PC Engine collector, and I'm getting to the point where it's like I can't spend $200 to $300 a game. That's not going to happen. It's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I came to the show today, and I walked away with 2 games.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a Game & Watch and a very rare and television game. But you know, it's that point where I think purchase what you want to purchase, but just understand that what you own now is probably worth more.
Yeah.
That's the way I perceive it. Is that, and I understand. I actually was talking to a couple collectors today, and they actually brought this up that it is harder to get things, and it was easier 20 years ago to get stuff. I'll be the first to admit that.
Totally. Yeah. Like, when did you start? What was the first collection you're like, I'm going to collect this system? What was that point? That's such an interesting part. Because, you end up getting it. That's the after effect. But what is that moment?
Well, I was the new kid on the block with many of the collectors. Many of the other collectors I was hanging out with were collecting Atari.
Yeah.
So me collecting all this new stuff, this Sega stuff and the oddball stuff, no big deal.
Yeah.
Magnavox Odyssey 2, believe it or not.
Really, eh? Oh,
and so in the U.S., there's not, at least in the U.S., there's not many games made for it. You know, there's 50 or so. And I decided on my limited budget, I'm going to go for all of them. And I was so excited, and I wanted to talk to everybody, and I had a lot of fun doing it.
How old were you at that point?
So, you know, I just had turned, so maybe 20.
20,
So,
nearly 20 years ago.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I was 20, and I went to a yard sale, and they had a big box of stuff, and then like $20, and that was like half the collection right there.
That's what it used to be. That's so nice.
So then I was like, well, what other games are out there? So eventually, in a couple of years, I found Digital Press.
Yeah.
And so then I met with some other collectors. This is what you need to get. This is what you need to look for. I'd look online. And honestly, through shows, I was able to complete my set without using eBay.
Fantastic.
So, and not break the budget. I did get one game off eBay, but I didn't get it. My wife got it for me. It's Power Lords. And she reminds me. Yeah.
Was that an expensive game?
Yeah, expensive.
Oh, geez. Yeah. But you completed that. So that's the first collection that you completed?
Yes. First game set I completed.
So can I say, did that set off like a little bug? You're like, okay, I got one collection. I'm going to collect something new? Or like, what was the next bit?
So at the start, I was a random collector. I collected it if it was a good deal. I would get doubles, use those doubles to trade for what I wanted. Yeah. And so originally I was collecting Nintendo, but wasn't going for a set. And this Odyssey stuff came up, and I was like, oh, I've never played that. How much? And it was cheap, so I bought it, liked it, liked the system, started collecting more of it. As time went on, and I became involved with collectors when I moved to Washington about 10 years ago, I then started focusing on sets. Like the bug really kind of started to catch in about 10 years ago and even before moving to Washington, I'd say about 12, 13 years ago, I was really wanting to pursue how much I could get. I wasn't going for a set because I was telling myself, well, I'm not rich. I'm going to see what I can get on my own over time.
Yeah. From being out in the wild.
In the wild. I'm going to go out. I'll have my nerd list. Everybody knows I got my nerd binder. And I pursue stuff, and it's a lot of fun for me. And I've had a lot of positive experiences at shows. Yeah. And knowing that you're adding to your collection, a lot of people are willing to help you, either give you discounts, contribute to that. And I'm still missing tons of things, but I'm thankful for all the vendors that have given me deals over the years. What is
it? So you got all these complete, like I say, a Master System complete set, Genesis complete set. Mm-hmm. Out of all these sets, what is your favorite collection?
Genesis.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean,
that's cool.
One thing, Sega Genesis. The funny story, real quick, is I would go into rental stores. Now, in the late 90s, early 2000s, mom and pop rental stores were being devastated by like places like Blockbuster. Yeah. And so they were going out of business. So I would go in, and they would literally be going out of business, and I would ask, do you have any Sega Genesis stuff? And they would gladly show me their supply of games that nobody cared about, nobody touched. Oh, everybody wants Nintendo, they don't want the Sega stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I would clean house. I mean, it would just, it wasn't, they would say a price and I would pay it. It wasn't I was like lowballing them. It just, at the time, Sega Genesis stuff was not worth anything.
Oh, wow.
and all complete box. Like,
that's fantastic.
And I would do this over and over and over again.
Yeah.
By the time I moved to Washington, I was well over half the set complete.
Where are you at? Like, do you Super Nintendo or like? No, because we can get into that.
Yeah.
To try to do something like a Super Nintendo complete collection box now, that is like you would have to be a millionaire.
Correct, and that's why I'm going card only.
Yeah.
And, even I'm 50 carts away, and I may never complete the set because I just don't have the money. That's okay.
Yeah, and then we're not trying to create a bummer here.
Yeah.
But know what it is like to collect now, and unfortunately. Yeah, it's gotten extraordinarily expensive over the years. I cannot believe it. I remember some games like the PC Engine games I used to collect beats $10, $20 for a game, which is acceptable. Now $200-$300, like, oh my god, when did this happen? And it's what happened is all those people that wanted those games when they were younger that couldn't afford them got older, they got great jobs, and they can afford all this stuff, and they've risen all the prices up. So understand that's why it is where it's at. Maybe in about 50 years, and all those people die, those prices all come down.
Yeah, I think there's a window of time for every system. Like, I think for common Atari stuff, it's pretty inexpensive when you can find it.
Yeah.
And every region is different. There's waves of stuff where a wave of collectors go after something. Nintendo, Super Nintendo is pretty hot right now. But there's other systems that are pretty inexpensive. Like, I could have cleaned house today for Intellivision.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So it all depends on kind of what you go after. I pursued all the oddball stuff because people are gladly happy to give me a deal on something that they may not find someone who could either appreciate it or value it, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of known as an oddball collector, collecting all weird stuff, like everything from Interactivision to Arcadia 2001, Emerson Arcadia, which is what's that in Canada? It's
what's this?
Emerson Arcadia 2001 is Leisure Vision.
Shit,
it's the Leisure Vision, I think, called in Canada.
Oh, really?
Or something like that.
Well, that's the thing. There's so much diversity out there to collect. There's I didn't know about that, thing as well. There's so much out there to collect. If you're getting new to collecting and you're like, where do I fit in with this? Like, I want to collect, but I don't know what I want to collect. Collect what you like. Dude, this is what I like. It's not, I don't have NHL, like 84, and 94 on here. There's nothing wrong with that game, but this is stuff that I like. And pick something that you like. Pick a kind of genre of game. Say you like RPGs. Find an RPG you like, and maybe on the PlayStation 1, find out about other PlayStation 1 RPGs. Yeah. But I hate people that go in and just start buying stuff. They don't even know what it is. Just, like, I find a lot of kids in the Happy Console Gamer group on Facebook will post all of this stuff, and they're like, oh, I don't know what any of this is, but I bought it. It's like, no, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about. It's not about, anybody can go and buy barrels of games and put them up, but that really kind of defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do.
There's no wrong collection. There's no wrong collection. Collect what you're passionate about.
Totally. Have fun.
I was super passionate about Sega. Always have. Always will be.
Me too. I love Sega.
That's why I love being here.
Yeah.
It's like I'm surrounded by friends.
Yeah, totally. And it's unfortunate because we grew up with the Super Nintendo. We're huge fans of it. I could never even contemplate having a Super Nintendo collection. It's just, I'd love to, but holy shit.
Yeah, and that's what I tell myself going for a set. I'm still going for a set. I'm missing some of the expensive ones, but I also have a good friend with the game store, and he goes hunting, and then he has my list on his phone where he's like, okay, he's missing this. So the important thing is to be passionate about where you're collecting. The other thing is to network. You're not going to get far on your own. Yeah. You need to network, trade, form a group, form a group of collectors. And honestly, collectors that collect the same thing can actually increase each other's collection faster. It's really a good point. I'm going back to the PC Engine collection, but that's because that's my main focus right now. But we have this one guy on Facebook, and he always posts, he's in Japan, lives in Japan, he posts all these games that he's found for the day, and he sells them really cheap to all of us who are collectors. Nice. He's like, oh yeah, I found this, and a game that would be somebody selling on eBay for $60, he'll put on for $20. Because he's putting it to a right home, and he's not like raising the price so much. It's great. So you're right. Talk to people. Find out what kind of stuff you like, and then talk to more people who like that stuff too. You'll be surprised what's out there for sure. You can get some good deals still. You can still find some good deals. We're at the Retro Gaming Expo today. That's right.
There was a lot of good deals there.
Oh, I wish
this
I
is
had
in
more
Vancouver
money.
here. Yeah, it's
it was
crazy with some of the stuff there.
Really good product.
Yeah, but like, what was I looking at today? A great example of collecting and a game being expensive. ActRaiser, mint, beautiful. I'm like, I love ActRaiser so much, and I'm like, how much? And the guy's like $100. I'm like, I don't love it that much. Shit. And it's a mint copy, and I think it absolutely probably deserves to be that price because of time and all. It's been 20 years, 20 plus years on that on ActRaiser now. I think that came out when I was 16. Yeah. So
I just felt a gray hair growing.
Oh, I know. I they're coming for me. I swear to God, type of thing. But so thank you for being here. Thanks for talking about some retro games and stuff like that.
It's an honor. I really love your channel.
Thank you.
You do a great service. Promoting passion about retro gaming, and I just absolutely love what you do. And
for yourself, I know you've done so many talks on retro gaming and about the hobby itself. You even teach a class on retro gaming, which is
I teach an intro to game development, and I incorporate video game history into the class, and students have been giving me positive feedback about it.
He's teaching kids who have never heard about Pong.
Yeah, okay? I mean, come on now.
That's crazy.
Gotta change that.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it so much. So, guys, that's some collecting ideas, some collecting tips from Mr. John Hancock and myself. So anyways, guys, until next time.